At my uncle's retirement party, I casually said, "I'll bring dessert to the family barbecue tomorrow." My cousin laughed and said, "Oh, you weren't invited?" My aunt didn't even flinch, just pulled out her phone to show me the setup. Tables arranged, speeches planned, everyone posing together like one big happy family. My sister smirked. "It's kind of a close family thing." I just nodded, smiled politely, and left without a word. Then quietly canceled the venue they conveniently forgot I was the one who paid for. My name's Chris. I'm 33, work in IT, and if there's one thing you should know about me, it's that I've always been the guy who shows up. Birthdays, holidays, moving days, Sunday dinners, you name it. I was quiet, dependable, and never asked for anything in return. Need a last-minute airport pickup or someone to watch your dog for the weekend? I got the call, and I said yes. I didn't mind. I grew up in a big, loud family where everyone talked over each other, but somehow we always found room at the table, even when we were elbow to elbow. Somewhere along the way, that warmth faded. Maybe it was never real for me, and nostalgia just kept me from noticing. It wasn't a sudden blow, it was 1,000 tiny cuts. At first I wrote off the little things, hosting a game night with 0 attendees, or my sister Amanda forgetting to tell me Thanksgiving had moved to our cousin Megan's. I chalked it up to miscommunication. Life gets busy. But after a while, the pattern was impossible to ignore. I'd walk into family gatherings feeling like a stranger. Conversations would pause when I showed up. Smiles flickered too late. And some poor soul would always say, "Oh, I didn't realize you were coming." Those words settle in your chest like a stone, but I still kept showing up. Then came Uncle Jerry's retirement party. He spent 42 years at the same manufacturing plant, blue collar through and through, proud of his calloused hands and battered lunchbox. Jerry was one of the few relatives who never made me feel like an afterthought. So when Aunt Mary emailed an invite to the VFW hall, I cleared my calendar and even threw in a few $100 for the deposit and decorations after she texted, "Hey, we're a little short. Mind helping out?" No thanks, no confirmation. I just assumed. And I did it. On the night of the party, I showed up early to set out chairs and hang the "Congrats, Jerry" banner. It wasn't glamorous, but it felt good. When Jerry arrived, he gave me a real hug, no half-hearted shoulder pat. For a few hours, it was like old times. Drinks, laughter, awkward dancing, and endless forklift stories. I was actually smiling, feeling like I belonged again. That's when I made my mistake. I was chatting with Megan and Amanda by the snack table and said, "I'll bring dessert to the family barbecue tomorrow. What time should I get there?" Megan blinked, confused, then tilted her head. "Oh, you weren't invited." At first I thought she was kidding, but her face stayed stone. Amanda stared at the chip bowl like it was the most fascinating thing in the world. I laughed it off, clinging to hope. "Seriously, what time?" Megan shrugged. "It's more of a close family thing." Amanda finally looked at me and said, "Mom and Dad wanted to keep it small, just the core people." Core people. Like I was some peripheral branch barely hanging on. Then Aunt Mary walked by with a red Solo cup, and Megan said, "Show him the photo." Mary grinned, pulled out her phone, and scrolled through pictures of a backyard setup. Kids running through sprinklers, a huge cake reading, Family Barbecue 2023, and a group shot of everyone I grew up with. My parents, Amanda's kids, uncles, aunts, even my old babysitter's grandkids. Not one photo included me. I just nodded, smiled, and backed away like I suddenly remembered an appointment. My chest felt tight, but not sad, something sharper. Cold. Focused. I grabbed another drink at the bar, sat in the corner, and replayed every time I'd lent a hand, every check I'd written, every excuse I'd made for them. For years, I'd been the family's safety net. Extra wallet, extra hand. The guy who never caused drama. That barbecue tomorrow? I knew exactly where it was. I had booked that park pavilion 3 months ago with my credit card when Mary said, "We need someone with a clean payment history so it doesn't get flagged." I paid the deposit, and the confirmation was in my email. They never bothered to transfer it. In that moment, something clicked. I didn't blow up. I didn't flip a table or demand answers. That would have been too easy, and they'd label me the dramatic one. Instead, I finished my drink, helped pack up the decorations, and told Jerry how great it was to see him. He squeezed my shoulder and said, "Thanks for everything, Chris. You're one of the good ones." I smiled and drove home, opened my email, and clicked cancel reservation. One click, and their little closed-off barbecue had no tables, no permit, no plan B. I didn't say a word. I went to bed and slept like a rock. The next morning, my phone started buzzing. First one call, then another, then texts. I didn't check them. I already knew the storm was coming. By noon, calls had turned into voicemails. Aunt Mary, shrill and confused. "Chris, the park says our reservation doesn't exist. Did you cancel by mistake? Call me back." Then my mom, "Why would you cancel it, Christopher? Everyone's here, and they want us to leave." Finally Amanda, curt and annoyed, real mature. "Did you have to make this about you?" That one made me laugh. Them throwing an event and leaving me out, and suddenly I'm the one making it about me. I stayed in bed until nearly 2 p.m., not out of laziness but to deny them the satisfaction of picturing me pacing and fretting. I knew exactly what the park staff would say. "No reservation." "Sorry, ma'am. Someone canceled yesterday evening. Yes, we refunded the deposit. No, you can't set up without a permit. Yes, another party's booked at 3 p.m. No, I'm not arguing in front of the kids. When I finally got up, I made a sandwich, fired up my laptop, and played some lo-fi beats. It was peaceful. I knew they'd scramble to salvage the barbecue. Somehow, somewhere. But not with my tables, my permit, or my bounce house. Around 4 p.m., I checked my phone. 43 messages, mostly from Amanda and my mom. A few from Megan, some from unknown numbers, plus ones who now had nowhere to sit. Then I saw one unexpected message from Uncle Jerry. Call me when you can. I paused before calling Jerry. He'd always been kind. Didn't deserve to get dragged into this. But he'd also stayed silent when Mary and Amanda started shutting me out. He'd been quietly complicit, and yet I dialed him anyway. He picked up on the first ring. Chris, he said, sounding like he'd exhaled after a long day. I figured you'd call. Saw your message. I cut to the chase. You canceled. A pause. Yeah, he admitted. I didn't sugarcoat it. I wasn't ashamed. Another pause, then a sigh. Well, I can't say they didn't deserve it. Still, it threw everything into chaos today. I'm sure it did, I replied honestly. I never meant to wreck your weekend. You're one of the few in that family who's ever made me feel like I mattered. Silence. Then, you do matter. I just didn't realize how badly they treated you. I hesitated. This hadn't been one incident, but years of being the backup. Always asked to help, never invited. Finally, I said, I'm just done. He took a beat, then said, I wish you weren't, but I get it. And that was that. Later that night, Amanda posted a blurry Instagram story from the backup party. Disposable plates, mismatched lawn chairs, captioned, even when some people try to ruin the fun, real family sticks together. #RealFamily. The irony was suffocating. I didn't reply. A few days later, I got a $1,750 refund from the venue. I donated it in Jerry's name to a community center upgrading their kitchen with a note. For someone who deserves a real celebration. About a week passed in silence. Then Megan messaged me with surprising honesty. Hey Chris, I know you're probably still hurt, and I don't blame you. I had no idea you weren't invited until you left the party. I assumed you'd be there. When you walked away, I saw how messed up it was. Our families treated you like Plan B for years. Some of us see it, but no one says anything because you never pushed back. I guess this was your push. Just wanted you to know I saw it, and I'm sorry. Her words meant more than I expected, not because they fixed anything, but because they confirmed I wasn't imagining things. I still didn't reply. I was figuring out what done looked like for me. Over the next few days, more messages trickled in. My mom's long email about family rough patches and not punishing loved ones. Amanda's cryptic quote on social media. You find out who people really are when they don't get what they want. I chuckled at that. Meanwhile, I started investing in the people who made me feel whole. I invited friends, people who never forgot me, over for dinners, took a weekend trip with coworkers to the coast. I smiled more, slept better, but the family wasn't finished. About 2 weeks after the barbecue, I pulled into my complex and saw my mom's car outside my door. Amanda sat in the passenger seat. No calls, no texts, they just showed up. I stood at the curb, keys in hand, and they watched me through the windshield. Amanda climbed out first. We need to talk, she said flatly. You can't just ghost your family over one mistake. I raised an eyebrow. One mistake? My mom got out next. Sweetheart, we never meant to hurt you, but canceling the park rental and ruining everything wasn't the answer. You made everyone uncomfortable. I crossed my arms. Uncomfortable? That's rich. I've been uncomfortable at your events for years, but it wasn't a problem until I stopped funding them. Amanda rolled her eyes. This is ridiculous. Just admit you overreacted and come back to the group. I tilted my head, a dry smile forming. If you want me back, start with an apology, not a fake one, but a real one, in front of the whole family. Amanda laughed, a tight sound that was more air than noise. You think we owe you a public apology just because your feelings got hurt? I didn't answer. I studied her. For years she'd been golden child, loudest voice, the default decision maker, always in photos. I used to think she earned it. Now I saw she took it, and we let her to keep the peace. It's not about feelings, I finally said. It's about respect, or the lack of it. I've been treated like furniture, useful when needed, invisible the rest of the time. I'm done playing along. If you want me back, you have to own what you've done. My mom tried to soften things. Families are big. People forget what they say. We all have flaws. I raised an eyebrow. Flaws? You stayed silent when Amanda laughed at me. You smiled while Aunt Mary showed me photos from an event I paid for, but wasn't invited to. You've been silent for years. That's not a flaw. It's a choice. My mom had no comeback. Amanda folded her arms. So you're just cutting us off? Skipping Christmas, birthdays? You'll make everything awkward. I looked her in the eye. You already did. I turned and walked to my door. As I paused with my hand on the knob, I heard my mom's weak voice behind me. Chris, please don't do this. Fix it. Own it. Apologize. I stepped inside and closed the door gently. No slam, no scene. Just calm finality. And for the first time, they didn't know how to respond. A week later, I got a message from Uncle Jerry. Hey, I'm hosting a small dinner with a few people. No speeches, no drama, just dinner. No one else from your mom's side will be there unless you say yes first. I let it sit for a bit before answering. I hit the gym, went for a walk, ate dinner, and thought it over. Finally, I replied, only if it's at your place, and only if you promise not to bring up the others. He shot back, deal. That dinner was exactly what I needed. Jerry, his neighbor Dave, an old buddy from his work days, and I grilled burgers, watched a movie, and talked about everything except family. For the first time, I didn't feel like a spare part. I felt seen. I realized that family isn't about blood or last names or remembering birthdays on paper. It's about who shows up, who respects you, and who listens when it's tough. A few weeks later, I posted an Instagram photo of Jerry and me clinking glasses on his back porch, captioning it, sometimes your real family is the one that asks if you're okay, not just what you're bringing. Within hours, Amanda liked it, then unliked it, then liked it again. The next day, I got a blunt text. Fine. If this is what it takes, let's talk. You want an apology? Meet me this Sunday. Everyone will be there. It was exactly what I'd asked for, but I sensed something else. Sometimes people apologize not from remorse, but from fear of losing control. I stared at my phone, weighing whether I should go and face empty apologies, or let them stay tangled in their own mess. For the first time, I didn't need their approval. I wasn't the family doormat anymore. Everyone will be there, hovered in my mind like bait coated in guilt. I pictured Amanda rehearsing her speech for optics, my mom blinking back tears on cue, the rest nodding along out of habit. They didn't want repair. They wanted to contain me. Still, part of me craved closure. I wanted to speak my truth, not out of spite, but to claim my seat at a table I'd long been sidelined from. So I texted back, I'll come, but if this is just for show, I'm walking out. I won't be polite this time. Sunday came, and I showed up at the same house I'd grown up in. The white shutters were chipped, the porch rail wobbly, the flower pots dry, but nostalgia felt muted now, like someone had turned the volume down. Before I even reached for the door, it swung open. Chris, Mom said, all pearls and a practiced smile. Come in. The air smelled of cinnamon and roast chicken, comforting, familiar. Inside, the living room was packed. Uncle Jim, Aunt Mary, Megan, Amanda, even little Zach. They sat rigid, like they were bracing for impact. No one spoke. They just stared, waiting for me to break the silence. Amanda stood. Thanks for coming, she said, as if she were anchoring the evening news. I stayed near the entrance, arms folded. Go on, I said. She glanced around, prompting someone, anyone, to speak, but no one did. We know you felt left out, she began. Maybe we didn't realize how much you did for the family. It wasn't intentional, a non-apology if I'd ever heard one. So this is your big gesture? I shot back. Now that I've stopped funding your parties, you remember me? Mom cleared her throat. Chris, that's not fair. I tilted my head. Not fair? I paid for Jerry's party. I rented the barbecue grill. I bought groceries after Dad's surgery. I fixed Zach's computer. I rewired Mary's lights. Should I keep going? Amanda rolled her eyes. Okay, we get it. You're the family handyman/ATM. Want a medal? There it was, the real Amanda. No, I said calmly. I just wanted the same respect you give each other. The same seat at the table. But I guess that only goes to the core family. Uncle Jim finally spoke. We didn't mean it that way. Then what did you mean? I asked. When you hosted a barbecue and didn't invite me, even though I handled the venue? When you posed for photos like everything was fine? When no one checked on me after I stopped showing up? They had no answer, just the tick of a clock and someone shifting in their chair. You had years to say something, and you didn't, I said. I gave and gave. You took and took, and now that I've pulled back, I'm the problem. I was never part of this family. I was a utility. Now you want me back so you can keep using me. You want a band-aid, not a conversation. Amanda scoffed. Oh my God, you're so dramatic. Then this is the last time, I said, you get to call me that. The last time you reduce my boundaries to drama. I'm done. I turned for the door. Chris, wait. Mom cried. Don't do this. I paused but didn't turn around. You always said we were family, she said. That we stuck together. I looked over my shoulder. My voice was quiet but firm. Sticking together isn't the same as staying around when you're not wanted. I held this family together with favors and tape. When I stopped, you didn't ask if I was okay. You just got mad I wasn't useful. Amanda rolled her eyes again. So you're just cutting everyone off? No, I said, opening the door. I'm choosing myself. And I walked out. The air outside felt different, crisp, freeing. I didn't feel guilty or like the bad guy. I felt clean. That night, I deleted the family group chat, blocked Amanda, and muted my mom's messages. Not out of spite, but for peace. Over the next few weeks, silence reigned. Then Megan reached out. I don't blame you. I'd probably do the same. Just know some of us didn't agree with how you were treated. If you ever want to talk, I'm here. I thanked her but said little. I wasn't ready. Instead, I built something new. Friends who checked on me without strings. Coworkers who invited me because they liked me, not my wallet. I even started dating again, something I'd avoided while my family drama drained me. Old wounds still throbbed, especially on holidays, but they hurt less when I reminded myself that walking away wasn't selfish. It was necessary. About 6 months later, I heard through a mutual friend that Amanda threw a birthday party for her daughter, and half the family didn't show. Apparently, they missed the guy who always made things run smoothly more than they expected. I smiled when I heard it. Sometimes the best revenge isn't chaos or confrontation. It's just quietly walking away. I never got the apology I deserved, but I got something better. Over the next few months, my life shifted into a new orbit, one that wasn't tethered to old obligations or unspoken debts. I found myself waking up on Saturday mornings with a sense of possibility instead of dread. I'd pour coffee on the porch, watch the sunrise, and plan my day without checking in with anyone who expected me to drop everything for their convenience. I started saying no more often, and it felt strange at first, like learning to ride a bike all over again, but it also felt good. Boundaries were no longer theoretical. They were lines I'd drawn in the sand, and when someone tested them, I held firm. Work became easier, too. Without the constant mental drain of family drama, I rediscovered why I loved my job in the first place. Projects that once felt overwhelming now energized me. I volunteered to lead a charity fundraiser at the office, something I'd always wanted to do but never had the bandwidth for, and it went off without a hitch. My boss pulled me aside afterward and said, "You've really come into your own." That phrase stuck with me because it felt true in every part of my life, not just at work. I also dove into hobbies I'd neglected: hiking, cooking classes, and volunteering at the local animal shelter. There was something healing about waking up a dog for a walk or kneading dough in a warm kitchen. Every new skill and new friendship reinforced the idea that I was worthy of time and attention simply for being me. I didn't have to earn affection or respect by fixing problems or funding parties. I could be valued for my presence alone. Dating again was a revelation. After years of side glances at the clock and tension thrumming under the surface of every date I went on, I finally relaxed. My friends, real family, offered encouragement instead of skepticism. They treated my early stumbles with kindness, and when I recounted moments of self-doubt, they reminded me of how far I'd come. One date in particular stands out. Over tacos at a tiny stand down by the river, I told him about my family saga. Instead of glazing over or telling me I was overreacting, he asked questions. He wanted to know how I felt and what I needed. I almost cried in that parking lot afterward because it felt revolutionary to be treated with genuine curiosity and care. Meanwhile, the silence from my birth family held its own power. Invitations that once came without warning didn't arrive at all. Christmas cards stopped, birthday texts vanished, and for a while, their absence stung. But every time I felt a pang of loneliness, I reminded myself that absence backed my words. I wasn't being petty or cruel. I was protecting my peace. And gradually, the ache softened into acceptance. 6 months after I walked out that front door, Megan reached out again, this time in person. We met at a coffee shop halfway between our homes. She looked nervous, fiddling with her latte before speaking. "I've been doing a lot of thinking," she said. "When I texted you after your birthday party, I meant what I said about not everyone feeling the same way. But I also realized it wasn't my place to speak for the rest of the family. I should have reached out sooner, and I'm sorry." She paused. "I don't know if there's anything I can do to make it up to you, but I'd like to try." I sipped my coffee. I wasn't sure what I was willing to give yet. I'd built my life around not needing their permission. But I also missed her, and I sensed she was sincere. So I nodded. "Thank you," I said. "Let's start small. Let's just chat now and then, see how it goes." Reconciliation, I learned, doesn't have to be an all-or-nothing surrender. It can be a series of whisper-quiet steps forward, each one defined by mutual respect and real listening. Megan and I began with monthly calls, no drama, no demands. We talked about our jobs, movies we'd watched, even mundane details like what we were cooking for dinner. She never once asked me to step back into the old pattern of folding towels in her house or bailing out last-minute family crises. And when I shared my discomfort about my mother's tendency to guilt-trip me, Megan validated my feelings instead of defending Mom. By the time a year had passed, the tension I'd carried around felt like a distant memory. I celebrated my 31st birthday without a single text from Amanda or my mom, but I celebrated surrounded by people who chose to be there. My coworkers threw me a surprise lunch. Jerry sent flowers with a note that read, "Here's to family by choice." Dave dropped off cookies, and Megan came bearing a homemade card that said simply, "So proud of you." That night, as I lay in bed recounting the day, I realized I'd found something more precious than any party or gathering I'd ever staged for the wrong people. I'd found freedom. The real turning point wasn't the silence from my other relatives, or the successful fundraiser, or even the new relationship. It was that I finally internalized my own worth, that I no longer equated love with obligation, or respect with utility. I stopped apologizing for needing boundaries and started apologizing only when I'd truly done something wrong. And when I did offer apologies, to Megan for doubting her, to myself for tolerating disrespect, they were authentic and earned. Life, of course, kept moving. Amanda eventually reached out one last time, a small message on New Year's Eve. "Happy holidays, Chris. I hope you're doing well. I read it, smiled, and replied with, "Happy New Year. Wishing you the same." No guilt. No unfinished business. Just a courteous acknowledgement that two people could coexist peacefully at a distance. As I look back on that journey, from the night I first walked out of my parents' house to the moments of choosing myself day after day, I see that the most radical act was simply valuing my own needs. The rest followed naturally. My story doesn't end with a grand reconciliation or a dramatic mic drop. It ends with quiet growth, with relationships rebuilt on new terms, and with the understanding that family is what you choose, not what you inherit. Sometimes the bravest thing you can do isn't to fight, or to yell, or to storm out. Sometimes it's to say, "This no longer works for me," and then follow through. To prioritize your own peace. To build a circle where you're not just a fix-it person or a backup plan, but a full human being worthy of care and consideration. That's the end of my story for now. And it's just the beginning of the life I'm choosing every day.